Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into AI data privacy. And you know what happens when those two things collide?
Oh, yeah.
You shared a legal document with us, a class action complaint against LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
This one's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
Buckle up.
definitely.
So you're probably thinking, LinkedIn and AI, what's the big deal?
Right.
But it's not just targeted ads or your profile pic being used for facial recognition or something.
Yeah.
This lawsuit's claiming that LinkedIn used private messages
Wow.
from premium subscribers
Yeah. Hey.
to train their AI models.
Interesting.
We're talking about InMail,
Okay.
the messages you pay a premium to send outside your network.
That's interesting. It makes you think about the scope of this.
Why?
Like all those private job search conversations.
Oh, yeah, salary negotiations.
Exactly. Even attempts to reconnect with old friends.
Mm-hmm.
All that being fed into an AI system and you wouldn't even know.
And the complaint alleges that this violates LinkedIn's contracts with these premium users, specifically the LinkedIn subscription agreement,
Mm-hmm.
the LSA,
Uh-huh.
and the data protection agreement, or DPA.
Okay.
And then to make things even more suspicious,
Yeah.
the lawsuit claims that LinkedIn tried to quietly change its privacy policy
Oh, wow.
after the fact, like they were trying to cover their tracks.
Interesting.
So let's break down the lawsuit's smoking gun.
Okay.
In August 2024, LinkedIn added this new privacy setting
Mm-hmm.
that lets users opt out of having their data used for AI training.
Right.
But the catch is it was enabled by default.
Oh, so you had to go and opt out.
Exactly, and get this, LinkedIn didn't even announce it.
Oh, wow.
It came to light through media reports.
So that's even worse. They weren't even being transparent about it.
Right.
Wow.
So then, in response to all this media scrutiny,
Yeah.
LinkedIn did quietly update their privacy policy
Mhm.
to include language about AI training.
Right.
But they buried a crucial detail in an FAQ,
Oh.
saying that the AI models might be trained by another provider.
Another provider. So now the question becomes,
Right.
who is this other provider?
Yeah.
And what are they doing with this data?
And this is where the lawsuit really zeroes in on this idea that LinkedIn was kind of targeting premium users
Premium users, right?
who were paying extra for things like InMail and enhanced privacy.
It seems like a violation of the agreement you have when you sign up as a premium user.
Right.
You're paying extra for that enhanced privacy.
Exactly.
And then they're taking those messages that you're paying to keep private
Yeah.
and using them for something that you never consented to.
It's a breach of trust.
Definitely, especially for those premium users.
And you know, the LSA
Yeah, the LinkedIn subscription agreement.
specifically prohibits LinkedIn from disclosing confidential information to third parties without consent.
That's right.
And the lawsuit is arguing that private messages, especially InMail,
Right.
fall under that definition of confidential information.
That makes sense.
And we're not just talking about messages from years ago either.
Right.
This practice was allegedly going on until September 2024.
Wow.
So that means potentially a massive amount of sensitive information could have been collected.
So even if they stop this practice now,
Yeah,
the data's already out there,
it's out there.
being used in ways that we can't even imagine.
And that's a really concerning aspect of this case, the potential fallout.
Right, because even if they stop it now,
Right.
the damage is already done.
The data's already being used.
Yeah, your private conversations could show up in other Microsoft products.
Oh, gosh.
Like imagine your confidential job searches
Yeah.
popping up as suggestions in Word,
Or salary discussions.
in a Teams chat.
That's unsettling.
It's pretty unsettling.
So this is clearly about more than just LinkedIn and its users.
Yeah, this is a much bigger issue.
It really raises questions about the ethics of AI development.
Definitely in a world where data is the new gold, how do we make sure companies are using it responsibly and
Right.
respecting our privacy?
And are our current legal frameworks even enough to protect our privacy?
Yeah, especially with the digital landscape changing so rapidly.
Right. So what is this lawsuit actually asking for?
Okay.
They're not just seeking an apology.
No, they want financial compensation for those premium users,
Okay.
but they're also asking for something called algorithmic disgorgement.
Algorithmic disgorgement.
Yeah.
What's that?
It's a fairly new legal concept.
Okay.
It's basically asking the court to force LinkedIn to delete any AI models that were trained using these private messages.
Wow.
So instead of just paying a fine,
Yeah.
they would have to undo the AI training.
That's groundbreaking.
It is.
Ugh.
It'll be interesting to see how the court handles this
Yeah.
because algorithmic disgorgement is so new.
Right.
This case could set a major precedent for future cases involving AI and data privacy.
This could have massive implications for the entire tech industry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially for companies that collect and use tons of personal data.
Okay, so we've talked about this smoking gun
Right.
and this alleged breach of contract.
hmm
But the lawsuit also takes issue with LinkedIn's lack of transparency.
Right. Like they were deliberately keeping their data practices a secret.
Right. And only admitting to them when they were pressured by the media.
Yeah, it's like a bait and switch.
Exactly.
You sign up for a premium service expecting privacy,
Right.
and then you find out that they're feeding your private messages to AI.
It definitely erodes trust.
Oh, yeah.
And it really highlights this power imbalance between these tech giants and individual users.
Exactly. Most of us just click accept on those terms and conditions
Yeah.
without really understanding what we're agreeing to.
Even if you do take the time to read those really long legal documents.
Yeah, they're so long.
They're written in a way that it's almost impossible to understand your actual rights.
Yeah, exactly. It's like they're intentionally obfuscating things.
So let's dive a bit deeper into the legal arguments here.
Okay.
What specific laws is LinkedIn accused of violating?
Well, they cite a number of violations,
Okay.
but a major one is the Stored Communications Act.
Oh, the SC.
Exactly. And this federal law prohibits electronic communications service providers
Right.
from knowingly divulging the contents of private communications without consent.
So the argument is that by sharing these in-mail messages with third parties
Right.
for AI training.
LinkedIn violated the SCA.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the complaint also says that LinkedIn breached its contracts with premium users
Okay.
because they didn't uphold the privacy promises that were
Yeah.
laid out in the LinkedIn subscription agreement and the data protection agreement.
Because even if LinkedIn argues that their generic privacy policy allowed for this data sharing,
Yeah.
they also had specific agreements with premium users
Right.
that seemingly promised a higher level of privacy.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the court weighs those different arguments
Yeah.
because you've got general privacy policy and then these specific agreements
Right.
and the lawsuit saying that those specific agreements should hold more weight.
So beyond the legal specifics, I'm really intrigued by this concept of algorithmic disgorgement. Yeah, it's a fascinating concept.
Can you break that down a little bit more for us?
Sure, so it's a relatively new legal concept,
Okay.
and it's aimed at addressing the unique challenges that are posed by AI and big data.
Okay.
Essentially, algorithmic disgorgement tries to force companies to undo the harm that was caused by unlawfully using someone's data to train an AI model.
So instead of just paying a fine,
Right.
LinkedIn would actually have to delete any AI models trained on this private data.
Exactly.
That's a much more proactive approach.
It is. It recognizes that once data is used to train an AI, it's really difficult, if not impossible, to completely remove it.
So the lawsuit is arguing that this is the only way to truly protect the privacy of those premium users.
Right, because even if LinkedIn stops using this data moving forward,
Right.
the damage is already done.
It's done.
Those AI models are out there,
They're out there.
potentially being used in ways that could harm these users.
This legal argument could have ramifications well beyond this particular case.
Absolutely. This case could set a precedent for
Mhm.
how courts handle data privacy in the age of AI.
Right. It raises those big questions.
Exactly, like who owns our data?
Yeah.
How can it be used?
Right.
And what rights do we have to control it?
And it really underscores the need for greater transparency from these tech companies.
Absolutely. If LinkedIn had been upfront about their data practices from the beginning,
Right.
users could have made informed choices about whether to use the platform or not.
Transparency is so crucial for building trust.
Definitely, users need to know how their data is being used, and they need to have real control over how it's shared.
And I'm particularly concerned about this data being shared with another provider outside of Microsoft.
Yeah, that's a valid concern because we have no idea who this other provider is
Right.
or what they might be doing with the data.
It's a complete black box.
Exactly. We have no idea where this information could end up
Right.
or how it might be used.
That's a major problem.
It is, especially when we're dealing with sensitive information.
Right, like job searches.
Exactly. Salary negotiations.
Professional conversations.
Yeah, all of that.
So what are the potential real-world consequences for these premium users if this data falls into the wrong hands?
Well, imagine you're applying for a job
Yeah.
and the hiring manager has access to your private messages about your salary history
Oh, no.
or your negotiation strategy.
Oh, that would put you at such a disadvantage.
Yeah, or imagine trying to reconnect with an old friend
Yeah.
and suddenly a private message about a sensitive personal matter pops up
Oh, gosh.
in a completely different context.
That's a nightmare scenario.
It is.
This really highlights the need for robust data privacy protections.
Absolutely. In a world where data is becoming increasingly valuable, we need to make sure that individuals have the power to control their own information.
This case brings up so many important questions about the ethics of AI
Yeah.
and the future of data privacy.
It's a topic we could talk about for hours,
I know we could.
but unfortunately we're running out of time for this segment. It's a really complex issue with wide-reaching implications.
So before we move on, let's take a step back
Oh.
and think about what this all means for the average LinkedIn user.
Yeah, because this case could send shockwaves through the entire tech industry.
Absolutely. What's so fascinating is that if LinkedIn is found liable,
Yeah.
it could force other companies to reevaluate their own data practices.
Especially when it comes to using personal data to train AI.
Exactly. And it could empower users to demand greater transparency and control over their data.
This case is a wake-up call for all of us to be more aware of how our data is being used and to demand greater accountability from the companies that collect it.
Well said. We'll delve deeper into these issues and potential solutions after a short break.
Sounds good.
So stay tuned.
Definitely.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how this LinkedIn lawsuit raises some serious questions about data privacy in the age of AI.
Yeah, it's a big one.
It's a Pandora's box kind of situation.
Right, once that data's out there.
Right.
Used to train these AI models. There's no putting it back in.
Exactly. And we were talking about how this case could have a ripple effect
Mm.
across the entire tech industry. So let's explore that a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
What would it mean for other companies if LinkedIn is found liable?
Well, a lot of companies rely on similar data practices, you know?
Right.
They gather user info, often with broad consent,
Right.
and use it to improve their services, personalize stuff, or like we're seeing here, train AI.
Right. So if this lawsuit succeeds,
Yeah.
could we see like a wave of new regulations
Oh, definitely.
or laws
Mm-hmm.
specifically aimed at protecting data in the context of AI training?
Yeah, this case could be what really pushes for stricter data privacy laws
Okay.
that require companies to be way more transparent about how they're using user data,
Okay.
especially when it comes to AI.
Right.
So we might see regulations requiring explicit consent for specific data uses,
Interesting.
limitations on data retention, even stricter enforcement of data breach notifications.
This would be a game changer for the tech industry.
Absolutely. And it would give users way more control over their own data.
Because right now, a lot of users feel powerless.
Yeah. They just click agree on
Uh-huh.
terms of service without really understanding.
Exactly.
So this case could empower users to demand that transparency and control over how their data is collected, used, and shared.
It seems like we need a new social contract
Totally a new framework.
between these companies and users.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about solutions.
Okay.
Beyond legal action, what are ways that we can address these concerns in the age of AI?
Well, one interesting idea that's gaining traction is data cooperatives.
Data cooperative.
Yeah, so users pool their data together
Yeah.
and collectively decide how it can be used for AI development.
So they would actually have ownership and control over their data.
Exactly, and could potentially benefit financially from it.
Okay. Are there any other solutions being explored?
Oh, yeah, there's a whole field emerging around privacy-enhancing technologies, or PTs. Yeah, basically tools and techniques designed to protect privacy,
Okay.
but they still enable data analysis.
Okay.
One example is differential privacy.
Differential privacy.
Yeah, it adds noise to data sets to obscure individual data points,
Okay.
but you can still get aggregate insights.
Oh, that's interesting.
And then there's homomorphic encryption.
Homomorphic encryption.
Wow,
But-
which allows computations on encrypted data without needing to decrypt it.
So companies could train AI models on this noisy data
Right.
without actually compromising privacy.
Exactly.
These sound really promising. Do you think they have the potential to address the core concerns we've been talking about?
I think they have a lot of potential.
Okay.
If we combine legal frameworks with these technologies,
Right.
we can create a more ethical and sustainable ecosystem for AI development.
It's really exciting to think about those possibilities.
Yeah. definitely.
So as we're wrapping up this deep dive,
Hmm.
what are some key takeaways for our listener?
I think the biggest takeaway is that data privacy isn't an either-or situation.
Okay.
It's not innovation or protection. We can have both.
Okay.
We need to demand transparency from companies, explore alternative models of data ownership,
Right.
and invest in privacy-enhancing technologies.
Okay.
The future of AI depends on it.
And for our listener out there,
Yeah.
we want to hear your thoughts. What are your concerns about data privacy in the age of AI?
Yeah. What solutions do you think are most promising?
This conversation is just beginning, and we need everyone's voice to shape the future of this tech.
Absolutely.
So we've been exploring this class action lawsuit against LinkedIn,
Yeah.
and we've uncovered some pretty thought-provoking issues
Yeah.
surrounding AI,
Yeah.
data privacy,
Right.
the potential misuse of information.
It makes you think twice about what you share online
Yeah.
and how it might be used in ways that you never even thought of.
Right. We talked about the legal arguments, the
Uh-huh.
potential consequences.
Yeah, for LinkedIn and the whole tech industry.
And even so.
That's a huge question we all need to be thinking about.
Right.
You know, this LinkedIn case is just one example
Yeah.
of the challenges we face as AI becomes more and more a part of our lives.
Right. We have to think about bias in these systems, the impact on privacy.
Even job displacement.
These are conversations we need to have now.
Yeah, before it's too late.
Exactly.
We need ethical guidelines for AI development.
Right.
We need companies to be transparent and accountable.
Yes.
And we need to give people the power to understand and control their own data.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into this lawsuit and the world of AI and data privacy, what are some key takeaways for our listeners? What can they do to protect their information and navigate this changing landscape?
Well, first, be mindful of what you're sharing online.
Okay.
Read those privacy policies carefully.
Right.
Really think about the consequences before you click agree.
Right.
You can explore the privacy settings on your platforms. Opt out of data collection whenever possible.
That's great advice.
Yeah. And remember, you're not alone in this.
Right.
There are organizations fighting for digital rights and privacy.
Yes.
Support them. Stay informed about these issues. Make your voice heard.
So the future of AI isn't set in stone.
Right. It's up to all of us to shape it.
To benefit humanity while protecting our rights and freedoms.
Absolutely.
This deep dive has been a journey into the world of AI, data privacy, and the ethical challenges that we face.
Yeah.
And we hope it's given you some things to think about and maybe even inspired you to take action.
Hopefully.
That's it for this deep dive.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us.